Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. Now it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time, he had a well-known prisoner whose name was Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you? Jesus Barabbas or Jesus called the Messiah?" For he knew it was out of self-interest that they had handed Jesus over to him. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him a message. "Don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. "Barabbas," they answered. "What shall I do then with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked. They all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they all shouted louder, "Crucify him." When Pilate saw he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was started, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It is your responsibility." All the people answered, "His blood is on us and on our children." Then he released Barabbas to them, but he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified.
Well, good morning again. Today, Grace for Today. It's Friday, the end of the Easter week. We just want to say thank you so much, Vernon, for your reading. Brilliant, just to fill ourselves with the Word first thing in the morning. Church, share this, like this, share it out wherever you're watching from. Let the world hear and see about the goodness of God. So today, in Grace for Today, the verse is, "Then Pilate asked him, 'Don't you hear the testimony they're bringing against you?' But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor." It's Matthew 27, verse 13 to 14. Have you ever been accused of something that you know isn't true? Ever had someone who is out for their own gain, spreading rumours about you? What about someone trying to destroy your reputation? I know I've had those moments in my life, and in those moments it's tempting, isn't it, to speak up against the opposition, to call out the lies. We want to prove a point, to let everyone know that we're innocent, that we had no part in the things that we're being accused of. We want to protect our reputation, to protect ourselves so that we don't look bad. By the time Jesus arrives at Pontius Pilate's door, he has been accused of blasphemy by the Pharisees. You see, Jesus has shown their true colours, that they're out for selfish gain, for their own gain, whilst he has shown grace and love. The plan to kill him has now been set in motion. Jesus has been arrested, ridiculed, beaten. His closest friends and the disciples have deserted them. They're gone. They're done a runner. And here he stands in front of Pilate, surrounded by false accusations and false witnesses. But Jesus does nothing to respond. He simply remains silent. This is known as what's called holding your peace. He resists the urge to defend himself and his reputation. Why? Why would he do that? Jesus was looking ahead to the very reason he had been sent. His focus was on the purpose for which he had come, to voluntarily die on the cross in our place so that you and I might live. Isaiah 53 prophesies this moment. You'll remember he was oppressed and was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Like a lamb that's led to the slaughter, like a sheep that before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. Philippians 2 goes further to tell us that he made himself nothing. He humbled himself, becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Here stood the righteous one, the only one who had any right to defend himself. Here stood perfection personified, choosing not to protest his innocence because he knew he was destined to be exalted in God's timing. Jesus knew he'd be raised from the dead and would then draw all people to himself. He was fixed on what God had called him for, and he knew in that time he would be exalted. He knew that the plan of God was greater than defending himself before the crowd. Because of Jesus' humility and his obedience, he made a way that we can be united with God forever. It reminds me when Jesus being silent, what we've looked at over the last couple of weeks as well, in terms of proving his love for us, the Easter series we've been looking at with Pastor Andrew, Jesus remained silent because of his great love. It's his great love for you that he chose to hold his peace. His final destination was not ridicule and accusation. His final destination was to secure your salvation. That's good, isn't it? His final destination was to secure your salvation. Know today that God has a plan and a purpose for your life. When opposition stands in the way, remember the example of Jesus, who relied on what his Father said about him and not the testimony brought against him. He didn't need to respond to prove his innocence because he knew his identity. Remember that it's the Lord who has the final word, and he will exalt you in time. In the book of Exodus, when the Israelites left Egypt, the Egyptians pursued them and were intent on destroying the people of God. You'll remember this story. With only the Red Sea in front of them, they had nowhere to go. They were trapped. What does Moses do? He responds by saying to the people, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." And in the rest of the story, God makes a way for the people to cross the sea. Remind yourself today, God has the final word. Fix your eyes on what you've been called for and not the opinions of others. God himself fights for you, and he will exalt you in due time to accomplish the purpose for which you were created. Be still and hold your peace. Amen. It's a great word. Hold your peace and be exalted by God. It's a great word today, just remembering what Jesus has for you. We're going to go to communion, which is being led by Aaron Clements this morning.
And now we remember what Christ has done for us. This is his body, which has been broken for us, and in it we receive healing and wholeness and the renewal of youth, and we thank him for it. And this is his blood, shed for us to take away the sins of the world. And we remember what he has done, and we take and we receive.